Hello, everyone. That's the second episode of Quality Time with Daikon. And again, in the studio today, I have Burak Ben, who is an advisor to Daikon, and myself, Nikolai Makaranka, CEO and founder of Daikon. We are recording it on the December 30th in the end of the year, and it's a very opportune time for any kind of retrospectives. And today we decided to sort of go into one of these deep layer topics and talk about the role of quality function within the organization and how AI can potentially change it, and just in general what it has to do with that. Let me start with saying that I think there's a lot of soul searching right now within the quality function about what the role of quality should be within the organization. What's the place of this profession within any enterprise, and specifically for our case within a pharma enterprise?
So thank you for inviting me again, Nikolai, and it's nice having the chat with you. So looking back, I started in 1990s my career. There were a lot of paper back then. Slowly, it changed into digital world. Paper moving into digital, building systems, connecting systems, and AI now creates an opportunity. But for the longest time, quality was seen as a compliance-oriented organization, right? Our job is to make sure that we are compliant and make sure that we have quality product. And unfortunately, it is by design. We are very reactive in how we approach things. And we can't get into that proactive mode, despite a lot of effort into trending and looking and trying to have proactive and leading indicators. There's still a lot of lagging indicators, and we are still struggling to really lead the organization in continuous improvement. And that's the gap, I think, from being reactive to being proactive and continuously improving the organization. It's really by design. And when I say it like that, when you have a lot of manual reviews, fragmented systems, lagging indicators, you can't expect quality to be leading, right? Just take the example of deviations. Most of the time, quality spends its time on reviewing the deviations back and forth, making sure that the write-up is good. We can't even get to the trending because it takes hours to search and find things. And the most of the time is on the front end, making sure the deviation is entered correctly, deviation is done correctly. We spend a lot of time finding trends and trying to find the patterns, but less time on actually like solving the problems and looking at holistically overall. And I think that's the gap. And again, I'll come back to the same thing I said. It is by design. With manual reviews, fragmented systems, and lagging indicators, it is not possible to go the other way around.
So do you feel quality is perceived often as sort of policing organization? You know, when sort of they get called if something bad happened or something went wrong, and that's sort of the view that you get, that okay, these guys come in, that means no good, and they sort of tell you, okay, you haven't done this and that, and they just like sort of check boxes where you made mistakes. Do you feel there's some sort of negative view of quality from the side of other functions?
That's correct. Again, if your lights up when something goes wrong, that becomes your really the reputation. So it always appears when there's something wrong, and we need to change it. And I think we are at the forkroads for people to choose one way or another. If you go with the old-fashioned quality of policing and reviewing and everything, I think you will be left behind. But if you really leverage the digitalization, automation, AI, and technology in general, you actually can help the organization and you can change that perception about quality.
And what do you feel are the best ways to set this collaborative tone for the quality function and maybe best use cases where you've seen quality is really working hand in hand with other functions rather than, again, being in the shadow of them, their work, or being sort of this perceived like a policeman that just brought in when something went wrong.
So quality is a unique organization. If you think about it, it is enterprise-wide, from R&D to supply chain to manufacturing organizations, technical organizations like MSAT, kind of laboratories. Quality oversees it all. So it has a huge opportunity and responsibility to actually use this data in a way that can actually move the organization forward. But going back to what I mentioned about the systems, when you don't have the ability to connect the dots, find the patterns, or if you spend most of your time doing that, it's very difficult. You asked about examples. There are a lot of ways you can do that. We work on deviations together, and there are a lot of opportunities there. If you think about it, as I mentioned, you spend a lot of time back and forth to even enter a deviation into the system. Think about all that wasted time just to wordsmith, make sure nothing is missing and compliant and everything is in the system correctly. Then you spend a lot of time again trying to find similar events, patterns in the sea of deviations, in the sea of data. And you can speed up all of these. You can use this to your advantage, the technology to your advantage, to get these done very systemically and consistently using technology again, and then spend all your time moving the organizations forward, looking for the continuous improvement opportunities across the organization, finding best ways to do it, and in a very investment light way, because there are a lot of low-hanging fruit that can be addressed. But again, if you spend all your time trying to find them, you have less time to actually implement them.
Yeah.
So that's I think the key. So quality needs to change from validating the past decisions to shaping the future ones, and that's really the key.
Let me challenge it as well. I'm wondering, why do you think quality is uniquely positioned to do that? Because these functions, everyone is to some degree territorial about their responsibilities, their work, and they want to own what's within their purview. Why do you think they would be letting quality do that? Again, that may be perceived maybe as a little bit condescending, sort of paternalistic kind of approach where someone comes in and starts telling me what to do. Because I've heard at conferences people say, look, the job of quality is sort of observe and advise, and this is what the specifically, I think it's good to say that we're probably talking mainly about quality assurance, right? Because quality control is a little bit different beast. It's more like operations. But for the quality assurance folks, it is kind of tricky to, again, come in and start setting the direction or providing some kind of consulting unsolicited to other functions. Why do you think quality is best positioned for that, and why would anyone care to even hear out what they say?
So the way I see quality is that our job is to lead, partner, and collaborate. So not take the back seat and see what happens, but actually take the lead and really collaborate and partner with the organizations. The reason, again, going back to where quality sits, we actually sit on top of the most valuable data set in the organization. And we can see it across, from R&D to all the way to supply chain and anything in between. You can see the data across and you can make connections. And if you look at the quality systems and the amount of data that we collect in these systems, from deviations, change controls, CAPAs, complaints, investigations, inspections, audits, all this data are in most cases isolated and in silos. And even if you take one organization, manufacturing, they want to correct their systems, but they're looking at it in a silo. But the power of data is when you connect it. When you connect with different functions, when you connect it with different events, inputs. That's why I think quality is in a uniquely positioned organization that can help lead. I'm not saying we should take on everything. Don't get me wrong, I don't think we will be able to. But when we partner, when we give the right directions, and it's almost like orchestrating the whole improvement, continuous improvement engine, seeing where the biggest patterns are and issues are, connecting the dots, and giving really the clues to the organization and lead them to minimize the cost, maximize the productivity. And I think that's why I believe that quality is the organization that should be leading this effort.
I like this idea that quality should be a continuous improvement engine, because you're right. There's this data set, it is unique, and quality owns it. It is within quality's hands and boundaries. So they can play indeed this role of almost like internal consulting to operations and to others, to explain, okay, this is what we see, this is how you can improve as well. And I think this is a good segue into this discussion, how AI could be additional leverage for quality. Quality often fails to formulate how they affect the bottom line and top line. And they do a lot, and I think it's important, although not obviously diminishing super important things like patient safety overall, just quality of the product. I think at the end of the day, you are part of the business, a business enterprise, and one of the goals is to just make money, and you need to understand how you contribute in this direction as well. How do you feel AI can multiply this leverage of data and again elevate the role of quality within an organization?
I think AI can take us from reviewing data to reviewing systems. So what we have been doing is looking at individual data points, making sure that they are compliant, making sure that they are clear, complete, all of the above, right? And we spend a lot of time on it, but we don't look at it holistically. Again, we spend less time looking at holistically. Even then, there's a lot of manual work going on trying to understand these patterns. And AI can help us turn this paradigm of looking individual events, spending hours and hours to identify patterns, to looking at it systemically and automating some of these things, like front end of the processes. And then on the back end, taking the patterns and taking the power of data to identify the direction that we need to take the organization. The biggest issue, I think, is, and you are very right, Nikolai, I've seen a trend in change of quality leaders more closely connected to ROI discussions and what does it give back to the company. But there is still a skepticism in the executive layer that whatever quality brings to the table is questioned, right? Like, oh, it's for quality, or it's a compliance, can we do without? And we always try to sell, and I've seen this, it works very well if we say there's a compliance gap, right? So nobody wants the compliance gaps. Can we close it? What's the big risk? And all that discussion. But more than likely, you get the funding. But when you say, oh, this is an investment, this will help us identify data and patterns and improve the systems, there is a big skepticism there. And we need to do a better job explaining the business side of things. In my opinion, it's not much, because you can do basic ROI calculations and take the time you spend on each deviation, take the time spending on trending and trying to identify similar events and patterns, and what did we do in the past and how do we connect things. Add all those time up and then think about AI taking over and doing that for you. And it's a basic ROI calculation at the end, and you can get the results in a couple years very quickly. And again, your organization starts to do meaningful stuff, not legwork. The legwork will be done by AI, but organization will do the meaningful work. And I think that's a side benefit that people underestimate, that nobody wants to do the legwork. Nobody wants to go through 1,000 deviations to find patterns. But people will be much more happier if they get the patterns and find the corrective action and actually improve the systems, and they can see the results. So this is underestimated, in my opinion, and AI can actually help increase your engagement in the organization as well.
Yeah. So it almost sounds like from this mindset of checkers and verifiers, you move to a mindset of almost like lean master,
Yeah.
being about continuous improvement, being about operational excellence, and really redefining what kind of context that quality organization is involved in. What would be your advice? Where should they start to make this switch?
It's an interesting question. There's a lot of hype over quality culture in the probably last 10 years. Even FDA got into it and start designing KPIs and how we should approach this. It is not that difficult. In the simplistic way, the quality culture is the whole organization identifying problems early, calling out the issues, finding solutions quickly, and really improving the systems. That's the quality culture. At the end of the day, all we do is to continuously improve our systems, and you want the whole organization to do it. The thing is, I think industry identified that there is a change needed in how quality approaches things and how like overall the system should work, but they haven't articulated well. So they spend a lot of time on training and slogans and all that on quality culture instead of actually building the systems to help you build that quality culture. I think if any of our listeners listen to the last one, I mentioned there that culture follows the system or technology, and this is again, that's how I think of the next generation quality, is that if you build the systems that are connected to each other, you have AI helping you identify problems very quickly and very openly and clearly, helping you with solutions, and you implement solutions, the culture will change by design. But if you continue doing manual work, if you continue not leveraging the technology, you cannot change the culture by just training, by just giving people slogans. And that's how I look at things. My advice is for quality professionals is don't be afraid of AI. There is a lot of hype, but at the same time, there's a lot of people scared of AI, especially in the compliance and quality ecosystem, right? And the saying is that the AI will replace judgment. That's the biggest fear. Like, how can AI replace judgment? Human judgment is important with these decisions. AI is not there to replace the judgment. AI is there to give better inputs for the judgment. That's the difference. In most cases, we make decisions without enough input, and we try to make the best of it. But there are times we fail as humans as well. But if you use AI, if you use the connected systems, you can actually have better data, better understanding of the decisions that you are making. And that's why leveraging AI will help the organizations overall. So don't be afraid. Try to understand it, try to be involved, and start with a pilot. The best way to convince the whole organization executive layer is by getting results. If you start with a small pilot and show what results you are getting, and I guarantee you will get results, then you can have a big leverage in your hands to convince to do bigger and expand it potentially in your organization.
When you want to bring change to your organization within a modern pharma enterprise, you're talking about like hundreds of people, maybe thousands, just like for multinational pharma company quality organizations, probably like over 1,000 people easily. It's impossible just with slogans and presentations and showing up, some kind of newsletter. You really need to enforce decisions, enforce ways of working, have some kind of means of pushing the right behavior throughout the organization. So that's where technology, I think, is paramount. Whether it's AI or not, it doesn't matter. You really need to have a system. And that's, I think, part of the quality space is that it's been neglected for so long in terms of technological advancements. And part of it is sort of objective because it's a lot of text. And we have been able, just since recently, address text more effectively. But also part of it is just this mindset that this is something, filling out forms and checking boxes. So it's not as transformational. But we just said that there is actually a lot of potential, a lot of untapped value in this data and within this organization that can be leveraged to bring results for the company beyond just patient safety, beyond just the quality of the product and compliance, but also in terms of the bottom line and top line. So I think this mindset and execution around this mindset is really important, as you said. All right. So we're ending our episode 2 and ending our year as well. Any wishes, Burak, to quality professionals in 2026?
So happy New Year to everyone. It was an exciting year, and I think it will be even more exciting in 2026 with more AI developments. As I mentioned, stay connected with what's happening in the technology because it's changing so fast. AI cannot do everything right now, but that doesn't mean that it cannot do anything. So you need to start and stay connected. And I think when we come to December 2026, we will be in a very different place. AI will do different things, and we will have more developments in technology. So stay connected, and that's our job as quality to make sure that we lead the organization.
Thank you very much, Burak, and talk to you in 2026. Happy New Year, everyone.